Yo, what's good, everybody? Happy Friday. Hope you're all doing well out there. Got a good one lined up, I think. We're going to check out the new plugin Audio Cipher, and we will meet with the developer, riddle them with questions, hear the backstory. It's a cool plugin that allows you to generate melodies, MIDI clips, based upon text input. It's pretty cool because you can create these like cryptograms inside of your melodies, right? Create deeper meaning, maybe engage with your fan base on a different level, or perhaps just use it as a discovery tool and find some cool ways to come up with fresh ideas that you just simply probably wouldn't come up with otherwise. So, and it is brand new, so it'll be fun to take a look at. Do a little bit of feedback. You can drop links in chat. Kick back, be patient, wait. You can submit new sounds to the community if you like. Holler at ohmlab.tv and I'll post them to the community drive. There's a new free sound pack up this month for subscribers, so you can go hit the Discord and grab that. Just look for the subscriber rewards room in there. Swamp Alive, thank you. My back is feeling a lot better, I've been able to do limited sessions. I did a really short stream on Wednesday, like just over an hour. Staying really flat on my back has helped, like on the floor. That's the juice right now. That's what's doing it. Saffron, how are you? Eric, hello. Javar, welcome back. Subvids, Swamp again. Newmans, welcome back, dude. It's been a while. And thank you for all the new follows and subs over the past couple of days, all of you. I appreciate it. All right, so I think what I'd like to do is just start playing at first. It's been a while since I've been able to sit and actually do something of any significance. So, Newman's, where you been? Where you been? And no lame excuses like work or just kidding. All right, what should we load up first? Serum or Absynth? Hey, Paul, how are ya? Sunny Maryland, it is gray and mostly just kind of soppy. Not actively raining hard, but drizzling and dripping enough to keep everything just really saturated. So that's where we are today. Maybe I should load a toy in here. Good, Paul. How is your back, man? I don't know what I'd want to make. Should we make some risers? Should we make some risers? I was thinking that I need some risers in this thing. Yeah, I think it's time to do some uplifters and some downlifters, risers, downers. Got a fair number of swells and reveals. Maybe we can do a few more scrapes, but I'm thinking maybe it's a transition day. We can work on some sweet sound effects and then mix them in with some really cool risers with lots of weird dark textures and modulation in there. All right. Oh yeah. Yeah, Paul, that is like that's the new normal that I guess I have to get used to is that like there are no moments where you can just quickly just reach over and grab something without bending your knees. I guess those days are over. Jack Ball, welcome. Oh, what up, Saf? What do I use for videos? Well, I stepped away from it for a bit, but I'm going back to it starting next week, actually. And that would be ScreenFlow, but that's a Mac only thing. I think it's Mac only still. Um, it's tough. I would say that you may even want to look at online options simply because okay, so there's an abundance of options. There's a ton of options. And there's a bunch of even free ones, right, that you can get started with. Um, but I'm just about no hassle these days. I used to sit and tinker with those things, and it takes a lot longer to get stuff done. And technology is so good right now. You can even work on stuff online. So maybe you can find a tool that you can kind of keep really, really long term. Might want to run a couple searches for cloud-based stuff. All right, cool. So yeah, I wish I had more answers for you. I mean, if you were looking for like some really high level stuff, I would say just go the Adobe route, right? Because you can plug everything else into it. But I don't think you are. So all you really need is something that can screen capture. The audio routing, if you're having a problem with that with any of them, you can check out. Oh shoot, what is the name of it? Banana. Uh, Help me out here, guys. Yeah, how complex of a video, right? What's the routing meter? There we go, meter. Google meter banana and find the option that will work best for you. It's probably going to be the most simple one. It takes like 2 minutes to set it up, but that's usually the hang up with capturing screen and audio, both desktop and DAW sound. Mm, mm. Yeah, loopback works as well. A lot of the time. Yeah, if you're just doing tutorials, I would go grab banana for your routing. Meter, banana. There's another word in there, but you'll see it when you look it up. Um, and that's it. If you're on a Mac, I'd convince you to use ScreenFlow just because. Excuse me, man. It's the last time I huffed dust bunnies. All right, let's cook. Woo, man. Jeez. Dendrobot. What's up, Foss? Hmm. Yeah, so I don't know DaVinci, but if these guys are saying it should work, then I would check all of your routing. I think you probably need, excuse me, some kind of aggregate device to route your audio. Tedro, hello. Oh yeah, they're overkill for basic tutorials. They'll totally work. There's probably something that comes with most Windows machines, right? Or am I just like a spoiled Mac user? Tendrillbot, thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Purple Pros, welcome. Hope your sniffles are better. Oh, Movie Maker, that's what it is, yeah. Mm. Well, that sounds good. That could be a riser, right? Isn't that all it really takes? All right, let's build in something cool here. Let's get rid of that. And let's also let's just do these. One more to kill here. Okay. Take off this one. And let's do the same thing. We're just going to make a really smooth one first. All right, so we'll get up into here. And we'll say this is maybe 16ths. Bring this up. And we can maybe kiss that just a little bit here. And let's put this through. Oh, I guess we can start with just a basic here. Little 4-bar action maybe. Give it a little peek in here. All right, trigger this. Word. All right. Oh! Swamp, congratulations. Have you loaded up Logic yet? Nice. Nothing better than a really super stable dual boot. Okay. Let's just round this up a bit. Okay, let's give this thing a long form. Let's see. Okay, so then this one, I can bring this up. All right, let's make sure all of these are triggering. Trigger, 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 trigger. Trigger, trigger. All right, let's build in a little bit of noise here. All right, let's FM from that. All right, and let's get these all into the filter. Okay, let's see. All right, so let's make this first one. Let's make this pitch down just a bit. I don't know, maybe something like this. And just, oops, just a bit. Maybe. Let's see. Saf, yeah, that is frustrating. If it was working for a bit, have you tried restarting your entire system? I'd also check for drivers just to make sure you have the most up to date of each before you start chasing your tail here. Because sometimes it comes down to something really simple before you start really troubleshooting. Ben, thanks for asking. The back is doing a bit better. I'm still limited. I'm glad that all that coughing a minute ago didn't do anything to it. I think I swallowed a small moth or something. Oh, good Purple Pros. Yeah, you know, stimulus checks did show up, and I bet mine's processed by now. Moth murderer. I don't know if I actually did. I think I'm just being stupid, but there was something that was just like, ah, freaking dust or something. Moth murderer. Yeah, man, coughing and sneezing. So, funny story. I was feeling really good after about 4 days or so of being down. Maybe it was 3. And I was like up and I was moving around, and I'm making myself a piece of toast and some coffee, and this really sudden sneeze, like a really big, loud, vicious sneeze, and I was just crippled all over again. Oh man, it hurt. Oh, it hurt. Oh, I will get better, Ben. Nobody's taking me off the team. Okay, so let's start to heat this thing up. Okay, so let's get back into this first one. We're going to unanchor this, and let's take it out of BPM sync. And we're going to end it about here, around 17-ish. But we're going to have to take this down. I'm going to grab, I believe it's this one. That's the 4 bar. I'm going to bring this down here. LFO4, LFO1. Right. Okay. Let's maybe I'll just do a little dip. And let's take well, I guess we can just go like this then. 4 up to here. Okay, cool. And we'll just do the opposite over here. Okay, and let's take this and put it into envelope. I think we're about at that point. Send this through a secondary filter here. Some comb action, perhaps. All right, so let's make this one. This is also a 4-bar. Let's go the opposite on this one. Swamp, I think that that industry is the big boom coming. Purple Pros, I hope there are 0 allergies for spring. Nature's like, all right, you guys have had a year. I'll give you a break. Just got a horde. There you go, Paul. Yeah, Saf, this is true what they're all saying. Like with greater time in life comes greater ability to accumulate wealth. So it will get easier to earn. Pod Racer. Star Wars. Yeah, Ben. Sorry about your cats, Newman. Yeah, Dalek, huh? Siri, start the car. Oh my goodness. All right, so let's finish this thing. There's going to have to be a very weird little psychoacoustic bend here. It's going to be on the... Let's do the size. And it's going to be ever so small. We're going to take out a bunch of these lows and a fair bit of the highs. Take our spin way down. Oh, wait. I want to go the other way. So I need to start high and go low. And this should be going up. Too much. All right, now let's give this whole thing an angle. Nice. Let's beef that just a bit. Always take the time to make your own wavetables and noise profiles, boys and girls. Pays dividends. Give this just a tiny little kiss of this square sub here for extra rattle. And then we'll just use an external EQ to kill that extra sub. Let's do a linear on this. Beats by Genius, thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. All right. Let's see. Ocean's in the house. Oh man, that's awesome. So Chewbacca is giving directions. I'm just getting caught up with the chat here. That's awesome. Oh, Swamp, that's great. Marry rich. That's great advice. Javar, how are you? Tom Baker. Good analogy, Swamp, about the industry, people who are in it. Oh yeah, I've known a lot of sober people that work as bartenders. They had problems with liquor maybe early in their life and realized that they still really liked the scene but couldn't handle what it was doing to their body, so they just made a career out of it instead. Lots of different reasons to be in the industries, for sure. Awesome. Good to have you here, Ocean. Yeah, Benny, I can give you a little feedback today. Swamp is the full spectrum experienced vet in the industry, huh? Likewise, Ocean. All right, let's put some heat on this thing. See some feedback. All right, let's see what starts to happen when we lay down a couple of these things. And let's do maybe 3 separate octaves. And let's make it kind of dark. All right, let's make this thing run for a good 6. It'll resolve by about 8. And let's leave it, I guess 120 is good for right now. All right, let's give this thing a nice long release. Bring down this curve a bit. All right, even more release. And then let's just check meters to see what this thing looks like, and then we can start cranking out some variations. That waveform looks like something that's trying to infect and dominate, doesn't it? That's really high up there in the LUFS. I'm going to take down some of these subs here. Fairly unnecessary at this point. See if that helps. Don't need that bloat in there. Hoo-ha. All right, let's send this through a little supercharger. And we'll put a cap on this. Let's do a low level loudness. All right. See what this looks like. Still a bit beefy for me. Let's get back into Serum here. Let's take down this drive a bit. And maybe this res. Bring this cutoff up. Maybe we can back off just a little bit on the drive in the mix here. And maybe just a touch of the mix here. It's just not as good though. I want to bring this mix back up. I want to bring this mix back up. We'll just switch to level and bring this down here a bit. That's sitting a little bit better. morphy goodness. Yeah, it's a little bloated, but see what this waveform looks like. We'll just call this morphy. The waveform looks good. A little more stable once it's bounced. That's good news. That's good. All right, so Benny's got a link in here for me to click on. Carworks? I love that guy. Oh, man. Yep, I tuned into all those same ones. Paul, absolutely. I've infected your speakers. Ben, I haven't been playing any sounds for like 15 minutes, dude. Your speakers. We've taken over. Whoa. Getting into some deep stuff here. Is your name not Bruce? All right, let's check this track from Benny. And away we go. All right, dude. Here we go. Working title. I love it. Maybe we should keep it. I like it. The synth in here that's running through the entirety of the track is so simple and it works, right? The call and response in one synth is brilliant. I would exploit that. I would exploit that and find greater separation between those two, and you know, like alternating between very subtle modulations on every other note, basically, right? That seems like it. At first, that sounds like it might be kind of difficult, but you can just use a square LFO to be a controlling switcher for whatever modulation you're putting in. Okay, and you just build that into the macro that you're building. So that way, when you bring it up, it's affecting one of the notes, but not the other. Anyway, you can play around with things like affecting individual parameters on the ADSR, right? Making some of the attacks push out so it becomes a bit more slippery or delayed, and the release, like every 6th node or 15th node or something like that, if it just kind of like hung in the air for just a little bit longer than the rest. Little things like that. Filter, right? Whether they be long form sweeps or just really quick little whoosh every once in a while. Because those things will then play out again in the delay and then hang in the reverb, and that kind of interest kind of sticks around for a while. So I would probably also up the highs on the Vox verb just a bit and perhaps increase the stereo image on the reverb channel in general. And then consider making that move at points, but not in the same like 4 on the floor fashion that the rest of the pumping is happening. Like maybe single bar pumps or something. Around 130, the synth stabs are a bit too dry, or maybe they're just stopping a bit too suddenly. They don't sound like they're in a flow. They feel more like they're just stopping short of being in the flow. And they kind of come off as a bit too dry for me. 155 or so, when that kick comes in, it kills the vocals, the energy. So I would definitely revisit exactly what in your chain is being ducked by the kick via compression. Excuse me. And again, this idea of having a secondary level of warmth pumping on this track, whether it be in the reverb tails or whether it be on a secondary level of instruments, like maybe just the pad is on this slower kind of attenuation pump, right? Around 4 minutes or so in this drop, I'd move the vocals around and play with the stereo field just a little bit more. It's really simple in here, and it's nice, and you can kind of get lost in it. I think it's a good candidate for binaural panning. And specifically, if you can pull it off, the one that I think would sound the best there is if you are in some type of Doppler mode and you are running in a spherical environment instead of a planar environment. So you can actually take advantage of a more three-dimensional kind of a thing, you know. And I would go so far as to mess with, you know, like proximity and distance and width over time, because you have a fair bit of time here to play with, right? From it's almost a whole minute. You can kind of go wild there, I think. And then of course that opens you up for like glitching and stuff like that in there, stuttering, that type of thing. Around the 5-minute mark or so, maybe increase the presence on the clap reverse, maybe even build it up in excited energy, like over 4 bar periods of time or so. And then just like in the last 3 minutes or so, just in general, after you come out of this, this breakdown over here, like the whole second half of the song, I think could just use a bit more movement and change over time. Nothing drastic, just swells, panning, that type of thing. Nate, welcome. Yeah, I like the bounce of the kick too. I think there's just a little bit of work to do on that ducking, I think, specifically on the vocal side. Nate, how are things, man? What's up, guy? Juicy Serum Brahms. All right, so back to the infectious alien viral riser thing, whatever. Nate! All right, I think I'm okay with that. Let's just start bouncing some of these. All right, where the heck am I bouncing all these things to? Let's see if I can remember how to do all this after being gone for a few. All right, let's go straight to Ghost Hack and into transitions. We'll put this into our ups. And we'll call this one Alien Invasion. Just a riser sustain. Dude, you lost a pet. Nate, dude, I'm so sorry. Nate, you are in my thoughts, man. Let's see here. What else is in this chat? Javar. So, if I've got track segments that are work in progress, they're not really finished, but I want to share with certain people. Is SoundCloud preferred for that or too public? Oh, so Javar, you can actually set things to private inside of SoundCloud and then just send people links. There's a small trick with that. When you set something to private, you need to go into the share feature. Instead of just grabbing the URL from your browser, go into the share and then get the link that way. There's an extra character in there that lets people actually access it. Anyway. Oh no, Candy Mountain is back. Just like that, Candy Mountain is back. Not going to leave any of our brains for some time. Oh, dude, Paul. Oh, man. Man, I'm sorry to hear about the loss of the dog, too. Man, it's rough. We lost our dog last year, and we gained a new cat, Parsley, which is just the sweetest name ever. Our kiddo named it. Yeah, that's so hard. All of us in the house still talk about Lucy every single day. She's our dog that passed. Been up for 24 hours. I'm worried when I go to sleep I'm going to get that really weird euphoria from... Oh yeah, Guy, absolutely. Dropbox has better audio quality than SoundCloud. Oh. It's a Lepopleurodon. Candy Mountain. Yeah, I'm sure that Kev does love the music, man. You are on a freaking tear right now. Yeah. I hope you love the music too. Everything you're cranking out is awesome. But dude, I'm so sorry about the loss of the pet. That's awful. That's family. Wait a minute. There's an ice cream mountain? For real? We must go. You guys, we have a quest. Bring your spoons. Oh my goodness. So we have a cool little visit coming up here in a little bit. It was on the news. That's awesome. We have a cool little visit coming up here with the creator of the new Audio Cipher plugin. So we'll dip into that here in a bit, and then we'll welcome them into a little interview, and you guys can ask them a bunch of questions and stuff. Yes, Nate, I would love it if you would submit something. Absolutely. Absolutely. Where's my mouse? There's my mouse. All right, now let's chop this thing up a bit. We already bounced this once. So let's just copy this down to its own track here. And let's just start mangling this in a couple of ways before we jump into the next one. Let's take this grain size down a bit. The crossfades here. Yeah, it's just downright dark. All right, and let's add a little shaper box action to this. Change this up. Let's take filter. All right, now let's just make this a bit more unique and do it like a long fade on either side. And we'll just play with the pitch on these. That is a pretty funky transition right there. Let's see what this thing looks like in the meters. Pretty hot mess of a sound, really. Come on, Logic, we doing this or what? There we go. Hmm. Let's see here. Got to get caught up again. Cypher Candy Mountain code. we can type Candy Mountain into this thing and see what happens. Whoa. Dog rescue walk. Nice. How many more tracks do you have left to do, Nate? I'm clicking on your link now, by the way. Paul. Dude, Nate, this is great. What's this one peak right here? I didn't hear much corresponding with that. Maybe it's just a SoundCloud thing. Make sure it's not triggering your compressor in a weird way. Going into your final bounce. Same with this very first one. Dude, this is great. It's such an eclectic sound palette. It's perfect. This is going to sound quite full when it's mastered. Okay, so there seems to be a significant increase in volume in this spot. There seems to be a perceived loudness boost in two spots. One is right here, going from here up. And then here. So the only downside of that is that it might seem even more exaggerated than that once it's mastered, and I worry that it might cause, you know, the people playing the game might think that it's cueing them into something when it's actually just the musical cue. So it doesn't look like much here, but that might sound like more in the master. That's that, and these couple of peaks right here that are taller than everything else that I didn't hear correlated into anything specific in the mix. So I don't know if it's like a transient pop or if that's just SoundCloud waveform usual shenanigans. This is freaking great, dude. You've been absolutely crushing this project, man. No, there's not too much bass in this for the game music. 2 new songs, then 1 revised, calmer version of this one for the nighttime. Yeah. Yeah, dude, knock that one out next, because you could do that in like probably minutes, really, because you can just go through and just treat each instrument quickly in the mix and just bounce a second one. Get that off your list. Make you feel super productive. Paul, you feel like you're ended up chasing your own tail, sort of, because you get feedback and then you implement the feedback and it's good. You can't decide what's better. Oh, man. 24-hour walk to fundraise for an animal shelter. Oh, man. You do live in Candyland, don't you? Newman's, that is Shaper Box by Cable Guys. They're great. They make really good stuff. Aw, seeing eye dogs. That's great. Yeah, all of the art. This is done by Kevin Anderson. I think his channel's just, is it Kevin Anderson or Kev Anderson? Nate, you can feel free to spam his channel here as well as your channel. If you guys are not tuning into Nate when he's working and you're considering going into game audio or you're wondering how certain things are made, check his stream out. He's good. And Kev Anderson, the one that he's working with here, who's making the game Hop Legs, is great. He's fun to watch. He's a good personality. He's making a really fun game. He's really engaged with the community. Good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, it fits this game so well. So well. Absolutely. All right, so I'm going to open up this cryptogram plugin. And let's just take it for a spin and see what it can do. And then we're going to get these guys on around around noon. 9, noon. I'm going to take a quick run to the kitchen to get some coffee here in a minute, too. All right, so we'll just put in a something. So this is a MIDI effect plugin. And I'll pull up their website too so you guys can see what the hell is going on with this thing. There it is. Tranyo. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. Okay, so the way that this works is super simple. There's a standalone app. I think all Windows users right now are using the standalone app. I don't think they have the plugin yet. All the updates that are coming this coming year are free for everybody that jumps in. And they're talking directly with users to figure out what they want most in this thing. And full disclosure, I've known Ezra for a bunch of years, and he's a great guy. He's got a great backstory. I think you're going to like this. He is incorporating intention and thought and energy into melody by way of creating it's like a cryptography plugin. It assigns a musical value to the letters that you're typing in via the text field, and then you simply drag MIDI to your project, and boom, you've got MIDI in your project. And there's a lot of really cool ideas for their development roadmap in the near future. So you enter a word, you choose a key, and you drag the MIDI out, and that's it. It's just that simple. I'll even play you a little video here.
Okay, so I've got a little beat here with a vocal sample, And I want to use Audio Cipher to help me to come up with a bass line that I might not come up with.
Maybe I'll let them share these videos if they're considering doing that while we have them on. And we'll just take it for a spin for ourselves. It's currently $15, one-time payment. And with that, you get the standalone app and the plugin. You also get 250 MIDI clips that come with it, just to start tossing melodies into your arrangement. There's a Discord channel for additional community and support. And this is a little video that shows you how the text is actually translated into audio, into music. There's a growing community around this thing, which is great to see because it's brand new. It's just now hitting the scene and people are already picking it up, which is fun. So let's toss a sound in here. Let's just grab one of mine instead. Well, one of my others. Let's do... maybe this little airy detune thing. Yeah, it's a good deal. It's a good deal. Yeah, Nate, before I navigate away from this completely, yeah, my notes were basically just to be careful of those increased volumes and those two peaks. Yeah. I'm just reading your comments here, Saf. Yeah, you just got to be you, man. You know, you just got to figure out what, like, where your happy place is, really, because you're going to make the best stuff long term when you're really happy. And thinking that you're going into an industry that you're going to love and actually loving the industry that you go into are oftentimes two different things. So, you know, if you choose not to go the game route and you focus all of your energy on the music side of the industry, so be it. But I will say that there's never anything written in concrete when you're working for yourself. So for me, I like moving fluidly between different focuses, right? It keeps me from getting bored. I can work on film stuff. I can work on game stuff. I can work on just general music production stuff. Yeah. Sometimes you just gotta let stuff out. Beats by Junius says, been using Audio Cipher every day for a few weeks now. Hey, how's it been going for you? Must be pretty good if you've been using it every day, huh? Yeah, I also agree here with Eric Saf in that is that you've got to try things out to know for sure. So there's one thing that I've seen lots and lots of people fall prey to again and again and again and again and again in my life. And I started seeing it like junior high. I mean, it's not just an adult thing, but specifically in and a lot in the creative fields, but you hear people talk smack about their experience. And I hear it a lot in school too, where like someone will go into a school and they're super jazzed about getting accepted to the school. They're starting this program, they're going to change their life, like all the goals are on the board. And then they start talking to people that are like disgruntled with their experience or whatever. And from the outside looking in, I can see that those people are disgruntled because they're not putting in the effort to get the results that they want, or they're like intentionally going against the grain and making it harder on themselves for some reason. But anyway, it's their own hang up. And then these people end up getting caught up in their current, right? In their whirlpool, so to speak. So you just kind of have to be careful about what you're accepting as gospel when people give you um, negative stories about an industry, right? Obviously, they're looking out for you on one side, but they're also giving you one perspective on a big story. And yeah, there's a lot of flaws in the gaming industry. There's also a lot of opportunities and a lot of ways that you can learn and grow. So I will say that every industry that I've ever been in has a lot of flaws because they've got a lot of people in them, and people are flawed. So if you are working freelance, you eliminate a lot of the political pitfalls of a workplace and whatnot, and people that can drag you down. You can pick and choose who you are in constant contact with to keep you up instead of down. There's a lot of ways to navigate this. So, favorite new toy, he says. Very nice, very nice. More toys than talent. Oh, that is a great band name. Oh my goodness. All right, I'm going to put in the MIDI effects slot here, the audio cipher plugin. And let's type something in here. Candy Mountain. Let's just see. Let's do a C major on Candy Mountain. See what it pops up here. That's actually not bad. All right, you know what? I'm going to name a few of these so we can keep track of what we like and what we don't like. All right, so this is Candy Mountain. Let's just do another really random one. What about peanut butter pine cone? Just because. And let's do an F minor on this one. More characters, more notes. You know what this plugin would do quite well with trap producers in general, I think, as it evolves. Be an easy name to come up with some really funky names for tracks too, huh? What does Slinky sound like? Let's see. Wait, let's do a C minor on this. This one's called Slinky. All right, how about Love the ohmies. Let's do a C sharp chromatic on this one. Let's get back into major. Let's do a D major on this one. See if it sounds better. Yeah, this is pretty good. I think that this would be a really fun beat challenge tool if a whole bunch of people were to have this and like randomly chop up some text from a story or a poem or something like that, and you know, you got like 30 minutes or something, or 20 minutes to put together a quick beat around it. It'd be awesome. Candy Mountain should be in B minor. And well done on investing the stimulus on lessons. That is an investment. Absolutely. I will say, having been working with Saf for some time in private lessons, that, and he had already been working with music for some time, but pretty much just dedicated to like some kind of psychedelic dub type stuff. He's able to do so much more now, and he's just exploded in a bunch of different directions. It's awesome. Be a minor. Ha 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 ha. Chitty chitty bang bang. Yeah. Bean juice. Bean juice in G minor. Let's do it. Oh, hey now. Hey now. Hold on a second. All right, so bean juice is a winner. Newman's with a win. Nice. That's awesome. A bean miner. Oh, okay. 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 A, B, A, C, A, B. It's in G minor currently. Yeah, that would work. Yeah, I'm telling you, just simple, like 1 to 3 short words. If you're a trap producer, this thing would probably be, I don't know, it becomes pretty silly how easy production becomes once you start to find a groove with a plugin like this. Oh yeah, man, chitty chitty bang bang. I was super into it, man. Absolutely. Oh man. Yeah, I remember when people were buying airspace in preparation for these supposed flying vehicles and stuff, and we're still arguing about electric cars like 20 years later. Oh man. Yeah, flying boats, no big deal. ABACAB disappointed. Expected a full Genesis production. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Absolutely. Hold on. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Let's keep the trap vibe going. So we could consolidate. Let's see what Chitty Bang sounds like. Yeah, it's a pretty simple tool. And Ezra, the one who is the mind behind this, has been grinding on this idea for a really long time, and he's got a whole bunch of things that he'd really like to do with this. So if you guys end up picking this thing up and playing with it, I'm sure that he would appreciate whatever kind of feedback you're willing to give. Let me just see. All right, looks like they're about ready to go. I'm going to grab a cup of bean juice and be right back. And you guys could do the same. Newman's Own, yeah, right? Definitely picking this one up. It's fun. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. And it's so simple and easy to use. We'll get these guys into the chat or into the stream here in just a moment. I'm going to go grab some coffee. I'll even leave you guys with a little tune. Be right back, y'all.
struggle as artists isn't about appeasing the crowd. Rather, it's about tending to the broken parts inside of ourselves. We create things as a reflection of this struggle, to study our perception of self. Ben wave isn't necessarily a thing you achieve. Rather, it is a state of mind which you constantly strive toward. This all comes from an understanding that ideas aren't static, but fluid, like water. Be like water.
All right, peeps, we are back. A warm welcome to the Audio Cipher crew. Let's kill this background noise here. Welcome, guys. It's good to have you here. Why don't you guys introduce yourself? Ezra, you go first. Hold on just 1 second, guys. I'm sorry. I think that let's do that one more time. My bad. I don't think Skype was actually capturing inside of Streamlabs. So let's do that one more time. Intro from Ezra first. Sorry about that.
For sure, all good. So yeah, I'm Ezra. I'm the founder at Audio Cipher. I've been working at this project for the last year or so, and we brought Chris on a few months ago, sort of the resident composer, working with the cryptograms to try to create content so people can really understand how the app works.
Yeah, and it's been a lot of fun for me. It's been an excellent opportunity to be part of. As a video game composer and sound designer, I get to work with a lot of different genres of music, and the cryptograms have been a great way to just test out a really unique approach to game audio.
Absolutely. We just took this for a little spin for a few minutes before you guys came on. I don't know if you were tuned in or not, but we played. We tried Candy Mountain, Peanut Butter Pine Cone. Love the Ohmies, Bean Juice, a couple of others that I apparently forgot to label. We were playing with Chitty Chitty Bang Bang before I went and grabbed a cup of coffee.
Nice. Were you in a particular scale, like major or minor, chromatic?
We were bouncing mostly between major and minor. We did one chromatic. We did a few in G minor. We did a B flat, a C sharp minor, an F sharp minor. Yeah, played.
Nice.
Played.
People seem to like minor a lot. For some reason, it produces cryptograms that feel a little bit more relatable in some ways. Major is just so happy, sometimes like
Yeah. And a lot of music is minor these days, whether it be electronic or trap influence or whatever. Yeah.
Totally.
So I'd love to hear, I'm sure these guys would love to hear a little bit of the backstory of like where this all started, actually.
For sure. Well, it's funny, Chris, because we met some years ago now, and in a way, you were kind of there at the genesis of all this. The research started years before that. I guess I can give a little bit of backstory. So yeah, I was raised in a musical family. Both my parents played musical instruments. My dad was a pianist. My mom plays the flute, and I played cello growing up. I kind of transitioned around 11 or 12 to playing bass guitar. It was in the same clef. So for me as a classically trained person, I was like, I can relate to this more. And I was getting into rock, and I was like, this is the way I want to go. Obviously as an angsty teenager, you're like, I want the rock shit. Like, put away this classical music. So
Right.
I transitioned into rock, and then played in bands in high school and kind of found my niche in math rock actually in the early 2000s. I was living in Chicago. Chicago was kind of a hotbed for experimental post-hardcore stuff.
Oh yeah.
And so for me, it was a no-brainer. We were coming up, the groups that I was playing with were more like grindy, thrashy, hardcore bands. And with my background and more in classical, I was like, wow, it'd be cool to take sounds like Don Cab or some of these more like, just like more pleasant sounds mixed with the odd time signatures and the more aggressive percussion and stuff like that. So we did that. That band was called Piglet. We put out an album called Lava Land. That was sort of the hallmark record. And we toured around and kind of did our thing. And around 2007, that band broke up. I embarked on a quest to the West Coast where most of my family lives. And yeah, the rest is history. I mean, really, I tried to establish myself as a singer-songwriter. I don't have a great singing voice, to be totally transparent. So that didn't work out too well for me, but I love composing. And I was kind of obsessed with that aspect of it. I loved the nuances of people like Dave Longstreth from Dirty Projectors, people who were Deerhoof, some of the more challenging songwriting stuff that pulled on traditional formats, but also introduced really unusual techniques.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you can see how that would transition then into something experimental like the musical cryptograms. So yeah, really, having been in a band that saw a little bit of success and then trying to do it myself and realizing how hard it was to do without a crew, I kind of introverted and got more into music philosophy and was poking around the internets. This is, remember, 2005, 2006, the 2012 end times narrative was hot.
Right.
And so there was a lot of, Jay-Z, Beyonce, Illuminati, conspiracy theory stuff and all that stuff. And I remember just reading stuff that was like, hey, the music industry is controlling the minds of people with music. And I was like, well, how? And why?
I want in on this.
And, I know. I was like, well, what are they doing? Like, what's the magic? And so I dug in pretty deep and realized a lot of this stuff was rooted in, a few different concepts, and none of them really seemed real. They seemed kind of speculative and a little bit hyperbolized. So I was like, all right, well, maybe there is something though. I was like, let's go deeper. And I started digging into the origins of Western music and asking really simple questions. Like, hey, why do we have a 12-note scale or subdivision of the octave? Why are there 7 notes in a major and minor scale? And, I went through 2 years of music foundations and fundamentals in college. So I had learned about common practice and chord theory and all the rest of it. And it's so dry. It's just, it's important if you want to understand the fundamentals of music. It really helps to know scales and chords and stuff like that. So I'm not trying to knock it, but they try to steer you towards writing music that sounds like 18th century composers. It's like nobody's really making music like that anymore. So I was kind of disillusioned with that. And I wanted to discover something that would allow me to keep composing with nuance and build these big arrangements, but to gamify it, to make it fun, And that's when I started getting into a couple books, actually. So I pulled them off my bookshelf. This was one that I found early on. This is by Jocelyn Godwin, who's a professor at Colgate University in New York. He's originally British. He's multilingual, so he basically translated many different spiritual and esoteric texts all the way back to Plato and Pythagoras in ancient Greece, through the Arabic mysticism, Jewish mysticism of the 5th century and so on. He really got into the ancient Egyptian mystery schools and how they use these different vowels to evoke the gods and so forth. So I was like, yeah, that's
yeah.
what I'm looking for. Tell
That's
me
the
more.
juice.
Tell
Yeah.
me more. And, I was like getting into fringe internet groups that were, synchro mysticism. For those of you who haven't heard of it, it was kind of this everything's connected worldview. David Wilcock was kind of championing the synchronicity narrative. And there were so many people who were drinking ayahuasca and taking psychedelics for the first time and trying to say, like, how does the crazy, synesthesia of that space connect to the everyday pop music on the radio?
Right.
Or does it at all?
Right.
So these were the kind of things I was really trying to understand for myself, having had some of those experiences and wanting to kind of ground it in a practical songwriting method. So, I kept digging in deeper and deeper. And, I was a little disappointed to find that, while there was this really rich spiritual tradition that helped me to understand where the 12-note, the 7-note system came from, that there wasn't a practical method that allowed me to apply those philosophies to a day-to-day practice.
Right.
So I could spend all day, and I'd be happy to take a little bit of time to tell you about like what I learned as far as, essentially music is time-based, right? It's a time-based art form. Without time, you have no music, right?
Right. Right.
So what else do we use to measure time? Well, clocks, calendars. Well, we have 12 months in a year. We have 12 hours in a cycle. We have 7 days in a week, right?
Right.
These
Right.
become very familiar in the musical
Yeah.
context. So I started to kind of connect the dots. I realized that it was Bach, Johann Sebastian Bach, in 1742 with the Well-Tempered Clavier. It was a series of 2 books that were composed into 12 major keys, the 12 minor keys, and then twice. So he had a total of 48 compositions. And he was really the first guy to say, we've got a long history of organs and clavichords and harpsichords and so forth, but the temperament of those was still not locked in place. And he said, no, there's going to be 12 notes. There's going to be 7 in a major minor scale. And so from the perspective of the Western musical canon, that was really the first time someone sort of just put their flag in the moon and was like, this is it, going forward. And he was such a prolific composer that all these people who followed after him, in the Romantic era, Beethoven or Mozart in classical, that they walked in his footsteps. And it's important to remember that Bach was a member of the church. He grew up in a family of classical composers, and so he was composing out of the philosophy that the church really taught. And so there was a sort of Christian mysticism to his music that's not very well recorded or documented, but is pretty much unmistakable once you understand the underpinning. Yeah.
Wow.
So anyway, so fast forward, that's 1742 when the Well-Tempered Clavier came out. And then there's all these different composers. Now, one thing that's really interesting about Bach, and the reason I kind of bring him up, is that he was the first person to ever use a musical cryptogram. And he actually used his own name. So I was just mentioning that there wasn't a formal system yet in place. In Germany, they had A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. So they had an 8th note. And a lot of people don't know that. What we call B today was what they called H, and what they called B is what we call B flat. So their scale was A, B flat, C, D, E, F, G, B.
That's pretty interesting. I did not know that.
There you go.
Yeah.
So he created what's called the Bach motif, the first recorded Western musical cryptogram, which was his name, B-A-C-H. And what he did was he took the staff music, so the 5 lines you've seen, sheet music, but he did one that was horizontal and one that was vertical, and it created a cross because he's a Christian. And he put 1 dot at the center, and that was a note. And then he basically made it where you could rotate the page in 4 directions and read from left to right the staff, and depending on where his staff was positioned, it would either spell B, A, C, or H. So this was called Bach's signature, and he used that motif in the Well-Tempered Clavier and wrote a whole fugue out of it. So Bach was like this crazy creative genius, and he was also the first person to do that. So that's just a little bit of background as far as what I discovered and how that connects to what we have today. People, if they tuned in prior to this part of the interview, like you saw that basically the way it works is you type in letters and we convert those letter by letter into musical notes, and it creates a tone row. So that method comes out of France with artists like Camille Saint-Saëns, who is a composer. Haydn is sort of part of this narrative. There's a number of different composers who used a substitution cipher where you take, like I said, a letter from an English like let's say the word Chris, right? CHRIS would be a 5-note melody because each letter has a note.
Right.
So they were the ones to do that, but they didn't use the algorithm we did exactly. What they did was they said, hey, it's always going to be an A minor, so A, B, C, D, E, F, G. When you get to the letter H, it starts back over. So H is the A note, I is the B note, J is the C note, etc.
Right. Okay.
And they just had one. So what the innovation in audio cipher was to say, well, what if you could change, you could take that format, but apply it to any key signature, major
Right.
or minor, and then we extended it to chromatic. And chromatic is interesting because it produces things outside of a key. So you never miss
Yeah.
a roll of a 12-sided dice. You don't know what you're
Right.
gonna get. Yeah,
That's a good analogy. I like that.
totally.
Yeah, I never know what it's going to land on.
Yeah, so at risk of like just blabbing on forever, I'll kind of create some space. But yeah, that's sort of a little bit of context as far as, you know, the historical foundation, the esoteric underpinnings, the musical meaning, the desire to have a melody that means something was really kind of central to this, because I reached a point of sort of an existential problem as a musician where I said, wow, like, you know, the band I played in, that's done. I played in some other smaller musical things, but it's not landing. You know, wow, no one likes my music. Like, what you know,
What
how do I
next?
make a magical melody and
Right.
people will finally care again, you know? And through that, I ended up writing and publishing a couple of books in 2014 and 2015, which is around the time you and I met. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Audio Cipher and Astro Music, and Audiomancy, I'm sorry. These are the two books that came out. And both of these essentially documented my own experience, my research, you know, the role of Jewish mysticism and Kabbalah, of astrology, of chaos magic. I mean, really the whole, you know, all the way up to the 21st century, cybernetic, techno shamanism, you know, that's all in there. And the final conclusion of the second book was basically, hey, I think the future of this is a immersive synesthesia experience. Synesthesia means the connection between musical notes and color or taste or letters, right? So a virtual reality environment or an augmented reality environment where melodies have an expanded meaning. So instead of just a note is just a note is now a note and a letter and anything else that you want.
Right.
And so
Right.
that was the conclusion. Now, the problem was we brought this book out. We sold, you know, I sold a few hundred copies. We were published by Sync Book Press at the time. I did several conferences. Esoteric Book Conference in Seattle was the biggest one in 2015. A few hundred people there. Sold a bunch of copies of the book, and really felt like, wow, we're getting momentum. People dig this. But I was still speaking to the sort of esoteric or occult side of this, and I realized, you know, the more time I spent with it, it doesn't need to be that. It
Yeah.
actually can take all of that out of that. It's really about how do you make a melody that you feel connected to? That's what's the most important thing. And how do you tell a story with that?
Right.
So I was really interested in trying to convey that through my books and realized I'd failed in a way. I had stimulated people who were interested in the cult that liked music, but they weren't making music, so it was not done. So it took me
Right.
another 7 years to get into computer programming and then learn marketing and really just continue to educate myself until I could network with the right people, like Stevie, who is our resident developer. He built the app with me. I wrote the algorithm, and we kind of combined forces. His partner is a designer, so is mine. So the four of us, we were kind of at the beginning phase, just working together to generate this app. We put it up on the Apple App Store. My partner and I built our Wix page. You know, we really went out on a limb. I mean, we had no fan base. We had, you know, no existing email list.
Right.
We just kind of took a leap of faith and said,
Good.
hey, I believe in this and my whole heart has been in this my entire life. And how could something that you love this much not succeed?
Yeah.
And so that was kind of the idea. And I was fortunate enough when I reached out to my own guitar theory mentor to have been connected with Chris. Chris is an incredibly talented composer. He, you know, can compose for pretty much any genre. And so we just started vibing out. I would send him some ideas and he would be coming back with, you know, pieces of music. Like we did a 7 days of VGM challenge, which is, if for those who aren't familiar, VGM is video game music. And Dan Holtzman is sort of a pioneer of creating a community of people who want to make video game music, but don't necessarily have an industry that they can tap into.
Mhm.
So it's a community of people who all support each other. And so we took the challenge and we did 7 days. Chris, what was the theme for the first round we did?
The first time was time travel.
Oh,
Time
nice.
travel.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Chris,
so that was pretty
crushed it.
interesting. You know, a lot of weird time signatures and just a lot of weird sonic textures to kind of fit the fit the aesthetic.
Right.
But Audio Cipher really came in handy for that, and that was my first experience with it, and it was great. I mean, it's like a whole new approach to composition, a whole new approach to sound design. You know, it's kind of nice sometimes to set limitations on your creativity. You know,
Oh, yeah.
if you choose to stick to the cryptogram that it gives you, you know, it's like you're working with just that set of notes, so it's up to you to come up with something interesting.
Right.
And so, you know, not only were there time constraints as we were trying to put out a new piece of music every single day for a week, but there were creative constraints as well. But I think that really helped bring out like the best in those songs that we put together.
Yeah. So to better gauge your perspective on this, can you give us just a brief history of you and how you ended up at the video game music challenge?
Yeah, sure. So interestingly enough, I would say my musical background is weirdly similar to Ezra's, but probably just like a miniature version of it. So I started out as like a total band nerd. You know, I played trumpet in high school, jazz band, pep band, marching band, symphonic, all that stuff. You know, I did that all the way through college, but then eventually I branched out, started playing lead guitar for a band that I kind of managed, you know, did like bars and festivals, stuff like that. And, you know, that became the dream. I sort of stepped away from like the brass and symphonic space and wanted to be like a rock star. And, you know, that didn't quite pan out as nicely as I thought it would, but I started getting into electronic music anyway. So by the time I got into college, I took my music theory courses, took my music history, all the basic stuff. And then when I transferred to university, which is where I met the production professor there who got me in touch with Ezra. But yeah, at that point, that's when I started really pursuing electronic music. And I had this idea to combine like lead electric guitar with EDM, and ended up making some like weird hybrid stuff that didn't go over so well. And like, well, you know, it was fun for me, but you know, let's just consider that a little milestone and kind of move on from here. You know, I kind of had the same experience regarding traditional music theory and just like the academic realm of music education, because it is really dry. You know, it's this very like highbrow, you know, it's an interesting culture. And unfortunately, where I enrolled, the administration didn't look fondly on us music production students. So I was very rebellious at that point and started just doing my own thing. And after college, that kind of led to this whole like weird soul searching period of my life, I guess, because you know, I kind of came out of a dark place in college there. You know, I felt like I made the biggest mistake of my life going to music school.
Right.
You know? So, you know, I was not in the healthiest place mentally. So I just started reading a lot. I started reading a lot about psychology, cosmology, just all kinds of stuff. And I started seeing these connections everywhere. And I started drawing these parallels between all these different areas of life. And it made me think like, okay, well, I'm doing this, but my musical taste is also changing. And I started listening to more like ambient orchestral music, ironically, as I step away from like traditional classical music. But
Right.
but it was mostly in a video game context, because I was like a huge video game nerd growing up, played way too much World of Warcraft, way too much Halo. Although I don't know if there's such thing as either of those. But,
Sure. It's a passion.
But those soundtracks really stuck with me. I mean, among others, for sure. But, you know, some of those big titles with the really like big orchestral soundtracks really stuck with me. And I found myself going back to those time and time again. You know, even on my commute to and from work, I would just be blasting video game music,
Mm-hmm.
driving down the freeway. And, I would kind of get lost in it and be looking around, safely, of course,
Sure.
still watching the road, but like, enjoying nature while listening to the music. I'm like, wow, this is like a spiritual experience right here. And
Right.
this is what I think people are missing, especially in terms of like pop music, but just general music listening.
The
I think people,
immersiveness.
yeah,
Yeah.
people are missing that immersive experience, and it's all becoming just this super trendy, like, throw a song in the background of your TikTok video and
Yeah.
watch it blow up. It's just become a utility rather
Yeah.
than an immersive like experience, or like a glimpse into the sublime, as some people would call it. But so that kind of became my personal mission as a musician and composer. So I eventually decided, like, well, the video game stuff resonates with me the most, so I'm just going to pursue that head on. So I got laid off from my job because of COVID, but then I decided, like, okay, I've saved up some money and I'm just going to do this. Like, I'm
Good
going to
for
make
you.
it happen. And it's been great so far. A slow start for sure, but it's been really fun, and I've gotten like so much more work done than I would have otherwise, and it's super fulfilling. And to touch back on the idea of synchronicity, like, say what you will about it, but I think it's interesting that, I guess we could say the universe brought us together, through our
Mm-hmm.
mutual contact.
Mm-hmm.
And so he has the same vision for music, bringing this deeper meaning to the notes themselves. And I think, when he pitched the idea to me, I was like, yes, absolutely, I'm on board with Audio Cipher 100%. Like, I want to do something that can bring that super deep, spiritual human aspect back into music.
Yeah.
And yeah, and so here we are.
Yeah.
Great.
It's how OhmLab started as well. A very, very similar journey, and left a very stable and lucrative world of tech to pursue this concept of helping people transform passive listeners into engaged listeners again, and find opportunities, because it was the dawn of a new era, and we had an actual, like, an open door, like anyone can do this now. So I think it's great. I think it's great that you're both so freaking passionate about it. I love seeing Ezra's idea come to fruition this many years later, because this is just yet another grand example of just keep at it. Like, if you're truly passionate about it, there's going to be a way to make this happen, and it doesn't have to happen all at once. And I'm just thrilled to see you guys building a community around it and having so much fun.
Thank you, man. Yeah, and it's been so interesting. I remember having a conversation about a month before we launched with one of my close friends he was like, oh, well, you'll sell 5-10 copies at first and, it'll build. And I was like, bro, if we sell one copy ever, I'll have succeed. You know what I mean?
Right.
I had all this confidence in the idea, but I didn't necessarily have a surety that anything would happen. We've sold over 150 copies in 2 months. And I sent out an email recently to the people who have bought it, and heard just a lot of great feedback from people. And one of the things that's really valuable to me about this is not so much necessarily just the business aspect, but more community building, and hearing from people, what features would you like to see in the future, and how are you using this, what genre are you using it in? And the biggest thing, like what I love about Chris, is that he's able to iterate through new ideas so quickly.
Yeah.
That, like, we can see within a couple weeks he's done 2 VGM challenges. We did the time travel one, and then recently, what was the second one was
Cyberpunk.
Of course.
So we
Of course.
grabbed all this really cool cyberpunk stock imagery and kind of blended that together. And I mean, Chris has a video editing background too, and so he's able to create these really beautiful productions in the span of a few hours. And I mean, obviously I've expressed to him so many times just how grateful I am that he has stepped in. It does feel very synchronistic, and we really encourage others to do the same. We offer a platform where people can submit their videos of how they used Audio Cipher to type in a word that inspired them, and tell us the story of how that connects to the track that they made. I was speaking, we have one other sort of resident composer, so to speak. This guy, Junius, Beats by Junius, I think he's in the chat there.
Hey, he's in here.
There. And love the guy. He's awesome, and he brings so much energy as well. And he's actually working on, we did a producer grind promo recently where 5 winners were essentially gifted a copy of the app, and each person, part of the giveaway was that you had to tag some friends, yada yada, but also you had to share a word that you wanted to hear. So Junia stepped in and was like, "Bro, let me like create a track for each one of the winners." So it's like, let's do it. You know what I mean? And one of them was like blurred. So we were like, okay, so what does that cryptogram sound like, and what would it be like to create the sound of blurriness? Like, what's the sound effects that you would use to communicate that? So it's like, this idea of synesthesia, it's like what instruments, what notes, and how can you then create a video that shows us as your audience what you did? Because really, I think when we talk about bringing meaning to music, there is the music listening aspect for the audience, but there's also the storytelling aspect, which in some ways, I remember as a kid growing up, my favorite bands, I was so hungry or thirsty rather to hear from them, like, how do you make these songs?
Right.
And in my mind, it was sort of at the very early ages of the internet. I'm 34, so I was, I graduated in 2005, but I was obsessed with music as early as like 12, right? So the internet was just getting started, and you would have this incredible mystique. You didn't have the Instagram influencer kind of vibe, but it's like,
it was well into adulthood for me.
Yeah, I know. Well, it never ended. But what's interesting is like a lot of the, you have groups like Genius who are like, hey, here's how the beat was made. But you get to see the different tracks and the breakdown of it. But I like to hear like I want to go even deeper than that with people. And I think, it's cool. It would be great to hear that from my favorite musicians, but it's great to hear that from everyday producers and composers, just to say like, what were you going through? What were you feeling? Why did you choose that word? What instruments did you pick? Why? What tempo? Like, and that storytelling, I think this is an art form that's emerging right now. There's clearly the technological ability to share with each other in that way.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest hurdle is people's self-confidence. And I'm totally confident that's the one thing that's standing in almost everyone's way, because people are like, well, I can't put myself out there like that.
Man.
People make fun of me.
We've been talking about synchronicity quite a bit in the stream over the past several months, and Thailand keeps coming back up as this kind of this point at which many different things intersected for me in the early dawning of OhmLab specifically as a project and building ADSR at that time. We had just randomly on a whim decided midweek, hey, let's go up north to Pai again, just for like 4 days or something, which is like way up in northern Thailand. We were living in Chiang Mai. And so we go up there, and all we really wanted was to hang out at this little tea shop that this guy that we met runs, right? And he has the most amazing chai. So we're sitting out there, and it's like the last day of us being there, and we're just super chilled out, drinking a pot of chai, and this girl goes riding by on her bike, and we're like, hello, as she's driving by with her bike, and she kind of stops and looks back, and she kind of walks her bike back a little bit, and she says, what are you guys doing? And we're like, drinking tea. You want some? We can get you a cup. And we sat down, we started talking to her. Her name is Anna, from the other side of the world. And we moved back to Portland several months later. And she moves back to Portland several months later and moves into this giant house shared with it's like 6 or 7 other roommates or something silly, right? And Ezra is one of the roommates. Now, I don't know any of these people. And for a period of, I don't know, like 2 months or something, everyone in that house is like, you've got to meet Ezra. You've got to meet Ezra. And every single time we're around these people, there's no Ezra. There's no Ezra. I'm beginning to wonder if Ezra is maybe this imaginary character, or maybe he's like a roommate that they ate or something, because he was just never there, like even during big meals. And then one day, Ezra's there. And they were right. We did have to meet. It was like this total synchronistic thing. We joke all the time about how we met Anna just to meet these other people. And that was it. That's like the entire reason we went hundreds of miles north that day.
So just to compound that, it's funny because I'm even getting like tingles in my head as you were sharing that story for whatever reason. But, when you told me about your experience in Thailand, I took the little money I had left on a whim with no career trajectory. And literally, I mean, to be totally honest, I was like, well, if I die in Thailand, whatever. Like, that was kind of the
That's
vibe.
exactly
like,
what I was doing.
I don't care anymore. And I went to Thailand for 6 months, and I found a place to live on the beach for, $6 a night with a meal ticket. And it turned out, coincidentally, there was a high-speed internet beach hub right there with entrepreneurs. And that was how I learned about programming and coding, and that you could go to a code school for 6 months, which is what I did when I got back to the States. I mean, I literally watched my tank go down all the way to empty. By the time I was done with code school, I had a few $100s left.
Yeah.
It was totally crazy. And then I was hustling for about a year just to even get my first job.
Right.
But what that enabled me to do when I came out the other end was to have the salary to then invest and create an app and create the platform for everybody watching right now who, resonates with this and feels called to try to create something of their own. I mean, my goal in all of this really is to create a kind of musical storytelling medium and empower people with that, and we've tried to really keep the cost of the app way down. It's $15 right now, but also beyond that, to create an Instagram page, a YouTube page where if people want to share their storytelling stuff, just DM us. I mean, we're very accessible. We'll write back to you for sure, and if we like the content, we'll share it.
And speaking of, I'm just going to start putting some stuff in the chat here, some links for you guys, and please feel free to spam the chat if you guys are in the Twitch room right now.
I am not, but I certainly will at the end of this call.
So I know that several people have already said, "Hey, I'm going to go pick this up." So you guys are going to get some more sales today, but I'm going to put here more links in the chat. Lab, how you doing, dude? It's been a minute. How are you? Yeah, I was just going to say, all I need is the links to the socials and links to the glory. Yeah. You guys will have some... Yeah, you guys will have some good sales today, and hopefully a few dedicated community members as well. Ooh, good question, Saf. What were your hopes and fears for this project when you realized that you were actually going to build this plugin?
Great question. Well, my first fear is that nobody uses it, or people use it and they think it sucks.
Right.
So let me tell you, like I work in software, and I work in customer success among content marketing and stuff. So I'm very sort of hardened to people going, "Hey, your app sucks," and then going, "Well, why?" And kind of taking it further. And I find so often when you go deeper with people, you learn so much about them and their needs, and that's the way that you improve your product. So, I I had that fear, but I also knew as long as I aligned myself with the intent to continue to develop over time and improve, provided we have the means, that's the way forward. And so, fortunately, a lot of people have reached out and it's like, I'm able to use it as is. It's a very simple product. I mean, we're not a melody generating app. We are a musical cryptogram app that can be used to create melodies.
Right.
But this is something Chris and I talk about a lot, which is like, I've been asking him. I mean, he's now the world's foremost authority on musical cryptograms. I don't know anybody who's making more cryptographic material than him. And I'm going, Chris, like, what do you think? Like, what would be an improvement? And we've talked about, the rhythm right now when you export to MIDI, it's a steady eighth note. So like, what if you could make those quarter notes or whole notes? Chris Gear, because you guys are both Chris G.
Right.
Chris, you and I talked a little bit about a rhythm randomizer, so the note duration could change each time you hit random, right?
Mm-hmm.
So these ideas, like, we love hearing about what people would like to see, but also we really encourage people to take that power into their own hands. Like, so many times people have been like, have suggested something. I'm like, you could do that in 15 seconds in your MIDI editor.
Right, exactly.
Like, absolutely can build that, but just know that would come at a big cost to us. And we're willing to make that investment once we learn from enough people that that's really where we need to go.
You got to have numbers.
There's just so much in that learning phase right now.
Yeah, for sure. Volume will play out over time, and you'll get all the information you need.
Yeah, absolutely. But we're really looking forward to that. So I think the question was, what was our greatest fears? Like, the biggest one was people don't buy it or people hate it. And frankly, neither has been true. So
yeah.
Good.
Fears avoided.
Yeah. Although, I'm now expecting a torrent of hate now that I've said that. Bring it on. No.
Zev is in the house. Zev, how are you, brother? Welcome, dude. Happy Friday to you. How are things? Sorry I've missed our last couple of jam sessions. But look, I'm sitting upright for multiple hours at a time. My back has been wrecked, you guys.
Oh man.
Um,
Office hours will do that.
it was bending over to see if the water diverter in the shower was open or closed, because I saw water backing up in the shower, and I like leaned over to check the thingy, and that was it. I was just out, just
Oh, yeah.
Ah,
It's always
brutal.
the
triggered an
stupidest
old
thing.
injury. Yeah, it's the stupidest stuff, right? Oh man.
So I do want to throw this out there because I know we still have about 15 minutes, but
Uh-huh.
people, for anybody who is resonating with more like the music philosophy side of things, going like, well, we talked about like the origins of Western music and mysticism. This book, this is like the #1 book I would recommend, not for musical cryptograms. I'll show you that in a second. But Jocelyn Godwin, I mentioned him before. That was this other book. And no, this is not a paid ad or anything. This guy is like a super humble professor guy. We've been in touch for years. I don't even know if he sells books anymore, but these are the two books. This is like the source book if you want to understand how the esoteric philosophy of astrology, alchemy, and so forth really factored into the reason we have the music we have today. Music, Mysticism, and Magic by Jocelyn Godwin. Like, this is the book. He has so many different books because he's translated countless different texts from German, Danish, French, it's Latin, Greek, everything.
Huh.
But it's all Western. So one thing I will say is that we don't just live in a Western world. We live internationally, and there's Chinese music, there is Indian music. So like
Right.
Indian classical music, they have ragas. So
Yeah.
a raga, the idea is you have different rhythms for different times of day. Would
Mhm.
love to have like a audio cipher variation someday in the future that has different raga patterns. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
you typed in like,
That's great.
brand new day, and I'm going to use the morning raga and drag that
Oh,
in,
that's
and I'm going to have
great.
an uplifting spiritual, you know what I mean, morning track,
Yeah.
whatever. So,
I like
um,
that.
so if for people who are interested in more international stuff, The Secret Power of Music by David Tame. This is another one that really inspired me. He talks a lot about Chinese music, and something I found in here that totally blew my mind is that they go back to these Chinese emperors back in the day, one in particular. So, they would be buried similar to Egyptian pharaohs, where in their caskets would be these sacred items. And one of them was the bell. Bell is like basically the primordial symbol of music and God combined, right? In fact, the
Hmm.
word bell comes possibly from Baal or Baal, which means Lord in Hebrew.
Right.
And
Out
so
of
the idea of
nothing,
like,
something,
right,
right?
exactly. So
Yeah.
the ringing of the bell, the ancient Chinese empire would essentially control their provinces through tuned instruments. So there was one
That's
giant bell
brilliant.
called the yellow bell, and
Man.
they would use that to tune before they sent in their armies to conquer a province who was misbehaving or whatever. They would send in the musicians and say, "Hey, we've come to tune your instruments," and that was a way of saying, like, "Hey guys, you're out of tune." But like
Oh,
so often,
snap.
so they take the bell, they bring that frequency to the province, and they would tune all the instruments in that region, and then those people knew, like, hey, time to fall in line with the empire, so to speak.
Wow.
Um,
Wow.
and so what's interesting about that is these Chinese emperors were buried with a set of 12 bells that were tuned very closely to the chromatic scale that we have today. And this is thousands of years ago.
Of course. Of
So
course.
here I was earlier saying Bach, basically formalized the 12-tone system. That's true in terms of 12-tone equal temperament. But, when you look at Indian classical music, for example, they have the 22-note subdivision of the octave, which is the 12 notes with quarter tones in between, and they emit the quarter tones right around the perfect fifth, because the fifth is the primordial interval.
Classic Western history writing, right?
Right. Right.
I wonder what the
All
master
musical
musicians
history
of
begins
Shajuka would
250
say.
years ago.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you're like living in the cliffs of Jajuka, you know your place in life from the moment you're born. And if you're a musician, you're going to learn all of the songs that have ever been played in the culture. You're going to play them exactly as you ever have. They don't write the music down. And their instruments aren't like finely tuned, as you're talking about. But didn't they also have an eerily similar system in place, like even before that?
So what's really interesting in Jajuka, what region is that? Is that in India? Or?
Morocco?
Oh, Morocco. Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. So the Moroccans, if you want to get into the Moroccan music philosophy, that's back to this one. So,
Okay.
Morocco was actually, kind of the early origins of a lot of Freemasonic philosophy. So if you
Uh-huh.
you
Uh-huh.
look at the Fez, for example, that plays a role in one of, I think it's like the 17th degree of Freemasonry.
Right.
They actually, there's like a direct reference to Moroccan mysticism in there. But the idea is that, they were the Moors were really deep philosophers, in a way that we'd seen in ancient Greece. But they, whether or not they were connected to the creation of the Arabic numeral zero, I'm not sure about that. Maybe not.
Mm.
But you can learn a lot about the influence of Arabic mysticism on early Western Hermetic philosophy with music. So there's that. I was going to say with the 22 tone scale,
Mm-hmm.
what's really interesting here is that Hebrew and Greek both have 22 letters.
Hmm.
Hebrew and Greek both have gematria. Gematria is the use of the letters as numbers. So they had not
Right.
separated out, like ancient Jews and Greeks did not have a separate numeral system. They used their letters to count. So A
Right.
equals 1, B equals 2, all the way up to 10. Then, their equivalent to K would be 20, L would be 30, etc. And so, if you had Chris, which would be like Chet, Resh, Yod, Samek, that would have a value of 8 plus 200 plus 10 plus 60. And so you would add that up and your name would have a numerical value.
Sure.
So the biblical scholars, they would say, oh, this word like divine, Adonai or God is this number and such also has that number. So they're connected and they would study the Bible in this incredible interconnected text as if it was like a
Hmm.
living, breathing, synchronistic text. So what's interesting about that is that the ancient, or not necessarily ancient, but the Indian classical 22 tone system, it's called Saragama Padanisa, and it's Saragama Padanisa, Do Re Mi Fa Sol La Ti Do. Like they
Uh-huh.
were identical, but those letters they corresponded to gods, numbers, colors, etc. So they had the equivalent to a synesthesia musical cryptogram
Yeah.
system, but they just didn't talk about it like that. So it's been completely
Why would they
lost to
need to?
Western
It was a
literature.
holistic experience, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. They were communing with the universe.
100%. So it's just so interesting to see how what we're doing is not new. What we're doing is we're exposing really not a nefarious secret. We're exposing a divine secret.
Right.
We're exposing a secret that has permeated the entirety of, human history, but has been lost. And really, the people who continue to use musical cryptograms today prior to audio cipher were mostly highly avant-garde, experimental, highfalutin, highbrow
Sure.
classical
Sure.
people, and it's really hard to even find that content. I mean, you
Huh.
go on YouTube and try typing in musical cryptograms, and it's like audio cipher is 85% of it because
Sure.
most people don't even know it exists. So we're trying to raise awareness about that as an art form, and not just as a hey, letters can be turned into notes, but like, hey,
Right.
this is a profound historical revelation, so to speak. Of which, it was revealed to me through research and my attempts to share that with others through technology is essentially the hope that we can share it as a community.
The real root notes, if you will.
The root of all root notes.
Yeah, right?
I
It
love that.
is. Yeah. Man,
Totally.
it's quite a journey going back to the dawn of music and just perceiving things through our senses, you know, to
When
this.
you say the dawn of music, I think of like flutes, like bone flutes are said to be the
Mm-hmm.
earliest known one. And I was hugely inspired by, as I'm sure maybe other people too, Zelda Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
that game, it's like up, down, left, right, and be like, do, 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 do. And they would turn that into a composition. I mean, that's a musical cryptogram, guys. That's a video
See,
game
now
cryptogram if I ever heard one.
you're right. And I think that this is just another example of the man keeping the drummer down. You know that people were hitting stuff with rocks and sticks first. You're in cahoots.
True. Right.
Drilling, fine tuning. You know drums were first, man. You know they
I'm such a
were.
music theory snob. I'm like, oh, it's all about
Give
chords
us
and
rhythm
notes. And
guys
no, but that's
some
so true.
love.
Yeah, absolutely. Rhythm was the original music. You're right. I surrender.
us cave dwellers were all like just beating you music theorists, and you're like woodwind making, and we're like, no, we must bang.
Yep. Well, you know what's interesting about this actually? Like, I hope to have more rhythm-oriented people who bring, their craft into this because, we are not generating rhythm for you. Like, you have to introduce
Sure.
rhythm to your notes. That is the craft, and then you arrange it. So good.
That's
like,
music.
if you like doing rhythm stuff, then like we got you covered because we're generating the notes for you now.
Exactly.
Yeah, and in like a super direct application, I mean, I use Ableton as my DAW, but like for example, you could type in a cryptogram and any notes that come up, you could consider those as your Ableton drum pad, or your drum rack. You set up all these samples or all these chops, all these loops, and then you just let the cryptogram kind of control where the loops go. And it gives you rhythmic freedom. It gives you just something you wouldn't have done on your own. And so that's something you come up with. I don't know if you want some crazy drums, or you could even use it to trigger different effects inside Ableton or whichever software you use if they have that capability. But it's just little things like that. It's got a ton of potential.
It's so funny. When I first started teaching people music production many years ago, one of the first like melody making lessons I would give again and again was open up a poetry book or something, right? And find a passage that means something to you, and then just take a few words of it, something that really has a great feeling to it. Maybe it's just the way that it sounds when you're saying it or something. And now say it as many ways as you can, like in different meters and at different pitches. Just play with that a bit. And it helped hundreds of people. It really opened my eyes to the simplicity of music at its core and just how god awful it is when adults crash the party of little kids, just making noises when they're little and really first getting into it. And then someone comes along and says, no, that's not how you're supposed to do it. And then everything's lost. I feel like our initial babbling is profoundly important. And there's got to be a way. I think this is kind of getting back to that in this way of introducing sound.
It just brings to mind, kind of what both of you guys said, where Chris was mentioning, like, you can use things like Serato sample or some, if you have a Ableton drum rack or whatever, but you can plug these samples in and sort of just follow the output intuitively, but also that you don't have to stick to the cryptogram. Like maybe, and you can see lots of examples of this. You go to our Instagram page and scroll down a bit to the Cypher Circle. So the Cypher Circle was a group of 8 different beat makers that we essentially curated content with, and each one used their own technique, and many of them are not music theory people at all.
Sure.
In fact, one of the head honcho, so to speak, he created a piece of content that was using Serato sample with Ripcord. And so he was essentially using Ripcord is a free plugin for people who aren't familiar, and they let you access these really nice chord voicings without needing to know any music theory. So you can essentially trigger those and drag them in and create chord progressions and use it that way. So there is this this intuitive element to it. But then also, a lot of those people would cut off half of the content. So they'd be like, well, I put off this, but I took anything above this note and chopped it, and I made my 808s from that. Or
right.
So this isn't a dictatorial, like, hey, you have to use the exact way we give you this cryptogram or you broke the rules. It's like, this is here to inspire you. And when you type that in, you get some content, you shape it into whatever you want.
It's a kickstart. Well, it's just like when something happens to you in your day. You're going to write a song about it. You're not gonna relive that. You're just going to write a song about it. You're going to turn it into something. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Word.
Absolutely, man. We are at 1 hour. Do we want to call it a day here?
Sure. Well, I know you got stuff to do. And I'm sure these fine people will probably go drink more coffee or eat food or go buy a plugin and start playing with it or something. I've got sessions this afternoon, so I should probably boogie here in a minute. But I do appreciate you guys being here. I will spam this chat again with links to all of your projects, so people know how to find you guys. There's a link to the books from Ezra, And these are the links to the Audio Cipher website, Chris's Instagram, etc., as well as a YouTube channel. You guys, they have a Discord as well, so when you go and hit that download button on the plugin, join their Discord at the same time and get plugged into the community and see what you can cook up with these guys.
100%. Chris, thanks so much for having us, man. It's always fun to talk to you. And, you know, we get these little moments. So
I
it
know.
feels like a window in time where we just open up the portal for anyone to kind of glimpse into the craziness of this whole thing. And you're the perfect facilitator for that. So thank you.
Thank you, brother. Chris, it's really good to meet you, man.
Yeah, nice to meet you too.
Are you here in Portland
great.
as well?
I'm close by. I'm about an hour north of Portland.
Okay. Up in the Couve-ish. Well, north of,
Ish,
I guess.
Yeah, out in the middle of nowhere.
Well, when our germ season leaves us, let's all grab a beer.
Would love that.
Perfect.
All right, guys.
All right, kitty cats. I'll see you on the flip.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Peace.
Well, that was fun. That was fun playing with Audio Cipher a bit and getting to know the backstory of all that stuff. It's just some weird, wild stuff, right? Building cryptograms into your music. It's good stuff. Beats by Junius, thank you so much for joining us today. Hope you come back again soon. And if we see these guys pop up in the chat, let's work on getting them some subs so they can keep track of what we're doing over here. I think it would be fun if enough people were to pick this up to do some challenges. You guys are always asking how are good ways to get your stuff out there, to get your stuff more noticed, more opportunities for, just growth, basically, and collaboration. This would be a good one, setting up a couple little beat challenges around this thing. So on SAF, the way that this works on Windows is it's a standalone app. When you download, you get a plugin file and a standalone app file. If you're a Windows user, it's just the standalone app right now, from what I understand. And if you are a Mac user, you can run it as a plugin in your DAW or the standalone app. You simply type words into the text field. You select a root note, a scale, and you drag your MIDI to the DAW, and that is all. The only DAW that it does not currently work with is Bitwig, because Bitwig does not support drag to MIDI, but you can be sure that that's coming very, very soon, because they're really the only major DAW without it in the world. So, and there's only a couple of Bitwig users in our community right now, I believe. But yes. Purple Prose. Oh, the word that you want to try is Hebrew. Nice. Yeah, see, I think that didn't the Chinese burn or destroy their instruments because they wanted something new? You know, I remember reading a story about that as well, Saf, but I don't know like where it fits into things on the timeline. But regardless, it's an easy pickup for a lot of people if you have $15 to burn. It's on sale right now at $15. I think it's normally like $20 or $21 or something like that. So you save a little bit of coin if you grab it. And you can get yourself plugged into some fresh ideas pretty quickly. All right, I need to go get flat on my back for a few before I step into a session with someone. So I am going to bid you all adieu. And I hope that you have a fantastic weekend. We'll be back again on Monday. Zev, dude, it's good to see you, even though I can't see you. Sorry I haven't been able to jam. We'll do it again on Monday. We'll drink scotch and make something good. I know it's all good. It's just that I've missed the output. The creative outlet. Yeah, absolutely. 2 tracks to show me. Nice, dude. Okay. I guess we're on fire. All right, y'all. I'm going to see you guys on the flip. I hope you have a great weekend. I'll leave you with a little tunage for a minute. You guys take care. Monday morning, 10 a.m. Pacific. I'll see ya. Peace out.